Indoor, there's light coming from this side through curtains. The kids are sitting, and the only way I could get them to sit was to give them a cookie each. And they're sitting, but they are still very active and moving. Curtis here is doing this, and Isabella is going from sitting up to lying down, sitting up, lying down. And the only reason she's doing that, by the way, is because her mum is telling her to sit up, and then she lies down. Okay, lie down then, and then she sits up. So she's being purposefully difficult. But in this shot, they're crisp and clear and not blurry at all. Sports mode. Now, this is one of the situations where sports mode might not work for you. We're indoors, and sports mode will possibly pop the flash up to help you with this shot. But that's okay for this kind of shot. Especially if you do want to freeze the kids. The other thing you can do, and it's a trick photographers do, you have to wait for the right moment to take the shot when they're not moving as much. So I did that essentially. I used as fast a shutter speed as I could in that light environment so that I didn't want to use the flash. And then I just waited for a moment where he's doing this, but he's here rather than moving. So click, click, rather than click. So if you click while he's going up, he's going to be blurry. But if you wait for him to get to the top and click there, he'll be frozen. Okay? You've got more of a chance of getting it. That's called the machine gun approach to photography. Yeah. You just go click, 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 and hope one of them's got it. But I actually guarantee you that if you time it properly, you're more guaranteed of getting the shot. You'd be surprised, even as old as I am, I can actually hit those points if you time it. Sports mode. Here's the situation. Sunny, daylight. He's jumping. No kidding. His feet were this high off the ground when he hit that ball. And he was jumping on soft sand. Can you even run in soft sand? Anyway, he hit that ball very hard, and that ball is moving extremely fast. To get sports mode, okay. Actually, let me just show you just a little point, because you guys are so awesome. We're ahead of time. You could have used kids and pets mode here to get the same result, but not quite the same result. Kids and pets mode, for those of you that have it, is just like sports mode, but it does one thing differently. It saturates primary colours. So the reds are redder, the greens are greener, the blues are bluer, the yellows are yellower in the shot. Kids and pets. And the idea is there to make it look more colourful for the kids. No, those of you with a Lumix that have baby 1, baby 2, dog and cat, pet, all that's for is so that you can label a particular baby with the name and the age, the time that they were born. So every time you take a photo of that baby, it'll have the name and their exact age at the moment you took the photo.
If you use it in that mode.
Yeah.
So you can program the name into your camera.
And some of them are so clever they'll recognise the face and put it into that mode. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Even, some will recognise 2 different sorts of cats as well. I don't know, yeah. So for this shot, if I'd used sports mode, I would have got that shot. If I wanted a bluer sky and a yellower hat, what would I have used? I would have used kids and pets as a quick way of getting that.
What's our nearest to kids and pets?
Sports.
Oh, okay. I have a panning on here too.
A panorama? Yeah, I won't cover that here. Panning. Yeah, you do this to take the shot. Yeah. Food is also low depth of field, like macro. Mm-hmm. Okay, the situation. Dappled daylight, there's no wind, so none of those flowers are actually moving, but I've made them look like they're moving just by blurring the foreground and the background. There's only a very narrow band of sharpness. Yeah, I actually used macro mode for this one, but portrait could have worked for you as long as you zoomed. Here's the situation. It is nighttime. You are standing on a pier or a jetty. This is actually Tangalooma, for those of you that might recognise where it is. You're standing on a pier and you forgot your tripod back in the room. This is night mode, but you forgot your tripod. What are you going to do?
Lean on the wall.
Lean on the wall or the rail or something like that. Yes, so night mode plus a tripod. If you don't have the tripod, rest it against a rail or something. Starry sky. Okay, yep, that's probably equivalent to fireworks. Yeah, really slow shutter speed. This was actually taken with a point-and-click camera. Okay, how can you take this shot? A slow shutter speed gets you this. Now, you have to understand the situation. It's nighttime, the fire twirl is not moving very much, but his arm and the stick is moving, and he's in complete darkness. So he's being lit by something in this shot. The flash has popped off. It's night portrait mode gets you this, because night portrait mode gives you the slow shutter speed to capture this, make it blurry, plus the flash to light him up. It only lights him up for a fraction of a second. So he doesn't look like he's moving. So the flash is actually acting like a fast shutter speed because it only flashes on for a moment. Now, if you did this in night mode, you would have got this, and you would have got him appearing red and blurry. Why? Not enough light. He's only being lit by his own torches. And he's being lit over time, and he's moving like this as he's spinning. So he would have been blurry over that time. If you'd used fireworks mode, you would have got twice the amount of blur here, and he would have been almost invisible. He would have been just a red, ghosty, blurry thing.
I can set this with a pre-flash.
Sorry?
And the lens will stay open.
Yep, that's, yeah. You can do it.
With the pre-flash, like a red eye.
Yeah. Here's the situation, daytime, overcast. It is a flowing waterfall, and you'll notice that the water is wispy and blurry. There's the clue. It's moving and it's blurry. How do you get that shot? Sports mode. Night mode will get you a little bit of blur in that water, yeah. Fireworks. Fireworks mode will give you around a 4-second shutter speed, and that's heaps blurry. Now, if it was a windy day and I used fireworks, these trees would have been blurry as well. But it wasn't a windy day. It was a nice calm day, and I got that. So you can't take this kind of shot on a windy day unless you have some method of keeping the trees still. Fireworks mode. Okay, so we're going to go through some composition guidelines now, but what I want you to take home from everything that we've just done is that you've learned to verbalize and mentally label 4 different kinds of results. Low depth of field, high depth of field, fast shutter speed, slow shutter speed. Okay? And you know how to get them now, or give yourself the best chance of getting them by putting them into the appropriate modes. So for landscape, let's say I wanted to take a shot of this whole room here, and I wanted everyone to be in focus all the way to the back row. Most people would put it into portrait mode because it's people, but you do that and you risk getting the front row or the back row blurry. So put it into landscape mode, you're pretty much guaranteed of getting everyone sharp and in focus. It's a high depth of field. However, if I wanted to tell the story of, what's your name? Of Linda sitting here, and she's obviously in a classroom, but I don't want to see anyone else. I'm not interested in anyone else. I just want Linda. I would zoom in on her and use what mode? Portrait or macro. And everyone else becomes a blurry part of the story, and the story's just about Linda. Okay, some of the rules we're going to follow, if you start using these rules religiously to begin with, your photos will start to look better straight away. But you can't use these rules, all of them together at the same time for every situation. The world is too complicated for that. So it's a good idea to follow these rules, have them in your mind, but break them when you have to, if you need to. The rule of thirds is a common one. It states that if you break up your frame into thirds, horizontally and vertically, and you put your subjects on those lines, it's much better than putting them dead in the centre. So rather than putting Charlotte in the centre, I've put her off to one side, close to this third line here. Now the rule also states, suggests that this top third line and this right third line form an intersection which is very powerful. This is often called a golden spot, or the point of highest relevance. That intersection there, if you put something on that, it has more impact for a Western viewing audience. I don't know if any of you have ever tried to take an ad out in a newspaper or a magazine. They charge more for the right side of the page. And they charge more for the upper right part of that page, because when you turn the page, most people, 90% of the time, go there because of this. So put something there and it has more impact. Can you see how I've used the rule of thirds to compose this shot? The horizon is sitting on the top third. The midpoint between the girls is sitting on the right third. Quickly, even lighting. Most point and click cameras, what they're trying to do when they take a shot is to even out the shot, make it not too dark, not too bright. But if your subject is only lit from one side, as in this case, Charlie here has got light coming from this side is really bright, that side is really dark, the camera can't decide what to do. So one side is usually too bright, or the other side is usually too dark. In order to alleviate that problem, you need to get more even light on the face or on your subject. So what I did for this shot is I took Charlie, turned it 45 degrees into the light, and then took the shot this way to get this shot. Balancing. This is something that a lot of people don't talk about, especially professional photographers. This is like a little secret that most people don't like to tell you about. But it makes a difference, a very subtle psychological difference. Strong colours within your shot, like the red of that hat, has been balanced by something else on the other side of the frame. I purposefully put this red car over here so that I would balance the red on this side. And you'll see in posters, especially very commercial posters, if there's a strong colour in the background on one side, there'll be an equally strong colour, usually the same colour, on the other side somewhere to help balance it out. Positive and negative space. There's so many theories about what to do here, but just be aware that your subject is usually positive space and everything behind them, especially if it's the same background, is negative space. In this shot, what I tried to do is get the amount of area taken up by her to equal the amount of space taken up by him. And that makes them equals in their marriage. If I had one to the other, one would have felt more dominant than the other. So using the space to tell the equality of their partnership was important for this shot. Equally important is to balance the negative space. So that area there roughly equals that area here. If I had cropped it or zoomed in slightly differently, it would have been slightly less balanced. It's the only way you can explain it when you look at the shot. In fact, when you unbalance a shot or you don't pay close attention to the balance of a shot, you tend not to notice the shot. You just glance past it. In this shot, I'm balancing positive and negative space by making the area taken up by the singer roughly equal this area not taken up by him. And what that does, it makes him just as important as the background. It's a photo about him. Now, he wanted a shot for him and his portfolio. He wanted it about him. So I gave him this composition. But for my portfolio, the one that I show people, I wanted this photo to be about him and his loneliness on stage. So I included more negative space. I it was actually, my composition is more like that. So it's just him in a field of black. So composing your shot differently tells different stories. This by far is the most important thing that I can give you quickly to get you improving your photos right away. Now, I'm a fan of haiku poetry. Haiku, Japanese poetry expressed in 3 lines, 5 syllables, 7 syllables, 5 syllables. Haiku poetry forces the writer to choose their words and think about the meaning, but not just the meaning, the connotation of the word as well, so the sub-meanings of words. It really gets you to think about the essence of what you're trying to say. I try to incorporate into my photography by doing this 3 things rule, making the shot just about 3 things in the frame, and one of those things being the obvious hero. So in this shot, you can see the tree is the obvious hero. That's one thing. The next thing is the grass. The next thing is the sky. Everything else is so small compared to everything else that it's not really competing for attention. So those are the 3 things in that shot. Over here, the rocks are one thing. The sand is another big element. And perhaps the sky and the water and land make one thing, but you could argue that that's 4 or 3 separate things there. But what I've done to alleviate this is I've tried to, I'm using balance here as well. Balance this shape with that shape. 2 triangles here. If I had made one of those triangles bigger, it would have been very distracting. But by making them symmetrical, you tend not to notice it as much. Okay. How are we going for time? We're going very well for time. I'll just quickly show you. Now this is an important part. Most people did enjoy this because one of the things I often wanted to do when I was learning how to do this stuff was to ask a photographer that I admired, well, how is it you actually decide on a shot? How do you move your camera about? Where do you look? Where do you point to get these shots? So I gave myself a challenge, gave myself 5 minutes at my favourite cafe to take as many cool photos, well composed, that I could. And that's the trail that I took through here. And you're actually going to see the video of it. This camera here has a video mode. I pressed record, looked through, and I started looking for important, cool-looking shots. I would compose it, focus it, then I'd push the button, it stops the video and takes a shot. So you're going to see the video of me doing that, and in the moment that the video stops, that's the moment I took the shot.